Hello, Levitical Kingdom privateers. Welcome to another C2K report tonight. We're going to talk about the year 2025 and what's coming up in 2026. You're not going to want to miss this. Very encouraging. But first, let's do our intro.
We have given up ground as a church, as an ecclesia, as a body of Christ. We have given it away. It's not been taken from us. We have given it up.
Babylon has no authority. When I talk about schemes like registration, schemes are created out of greed, envy, and fear.
We've read the end of the book. We know where the victory lies, and it lies in Jesus Christ.
This is what I want to do with fear. Okay? We don't need it anymore. We are the ecclesia.
This is a clash of two kingdoms.
Because there is a science to registration. Did you know registration is an ancient thing?
The Bible is replete with language that is martial, with language that is governmental, with language that is political.
By the way, that word religion doesn't mean Buddhist, Islam, doesn't mean any of those things. It means Jesus freaks and holy rollers.
We can mix church and politics, because my Bible tells me that the government will be on his shoulders.
All right, everybody. So welcome. I want to welcome in terrestrial radio in Texas. I want to welcome in Revelation Radio, Shake and Wake Radio, YouTube, Rumble, and anywhere else that you happen to be listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the C2K world. Thank you for getting us over 600 subscribers. How about that? And we are tonight going to talk about some really fun stuff. Let me bring in my co-host, Mr. Randy Conway. Welcome.
Hey, Rick. Here we are again, a day late. All because of me.
It's not all because of you, brother. I had the hardest time sleeping a couple nights ago. But
That's what you said.
Good stuff going. Good stuff going on.
2 hours isn't quite enough. I think the doctors recommend more than that.
They do. But I don't know. I guess I get a little bit of a separation issue, when the wife is somewhere else for very good reason. Very good reason. I'm a grandpa for the second time, so that's a good reason. But yeah. She wasn't with me, and I don't know, hard to sleep in those situations. So it is what it is.
Absolutely, I can resemble that remark.
So again, welcome everybody. We are going to review the 2025 season, which was our 5th season. Believe it or not, Randy, we're about to enter our 6th season.
Wow.
Real soon here. That's just nuts. I cannot imagine we've been together that long.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know how to comment on that. It's like time flies is an understatement,
For sure. And maybe we'll even talk about a little bit even before too, because we have so much to celebrate. You know that there was a time where the holy nation of the ecclesia was just a flicker in the head when you and me and a few others that are part of our holy nation and a couple people who are not even related to our holy nation sat down on a panel in what town was that?
Springfield, Missouri.
Sat down in a nice building. It was a nice building. I liked that conference. And large crowd, and answered questions about what potentially could be the holy nation of the ecclesia at some point. And to fast forward and see us where we are today, we're going to talk about a little bit of that.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because you're right. the Holy Nation was a flicker of an idea. It was that was probably its birthplace, but that was not a Holy Nation conference. That was a C2K report conference we did to try to kick off what we're trying to teach, a biblical model of self-governance. That self-governance is indeed the way that God planned for us to live. Was it Francis Schaeffer that posed the question, as followers of Christ, how should we then live? That may not be exactly verbatim, but that was the question: how should we then live? And it grew from that. There was a lot of interest. Where have all those folks gone that showed interest? And actually, that was one we charged quite a bit for, because we were paying for conference centers and a lot of stuff. And the people that have stayed connected with what we're doing are those who realize that the biblical teachings that we try to pursue on the C2K report really are lessons in self-governance. They are exposing the workings of a Babylonian system of government. You can't separate biblical understanding from self-governance. Otherwise, you have no self-governance. You cannot separate biblical understanding and learning from exposing the works of darkness, and that the world is already functioning under a worldwide Babylonian system. You can't separate those ideas. But wow, how long ago was that? And we kicked off the C2K report with that conference. You were right, it was a great conference. After that, there began to become discussions, and here we are. We have a functioning community of self-governing people that are interconnected, communicating with each other on a very private system, not on the system you and I are on right now, but on a very private system that allow them to interact, to speak with each other, to learn from each other, to help each other. And that's kind of cool.
It is, and we can throw a little bit of a timeline together. It was after that conference that we began to promote shopyourfarm.com as a place to come together and meet and gather. And there's a forum there, and there's a way to communicate through Messenger there, back and forth, very privately. And was not long after that conference that we began to put together a group of men that would eventually become the council of the Holy Nation of the Ecclesia. And the significance of that, Randy, is that we did not have a naturalization process yet. This was just an introductory council that was going to work at putting an infrastructure together to get us to whatever point the Lord wanted to bring us to, because we didn't know what the next step was going to be.
We didn't. Absolutely. And we've just moved one step at a time. That's why here we are going into, what did you say, our 6th season?
Yeah.
Because we haven't just taken an idea and run whole goal through the woods and through the weeds to say, hey, look at me, look what we got, because we didn't know what we had. We're just following what God revealed to us one day at a time. And to do anything other than follow his leadership. And what has he done? We have a private email system. We have the Shop Your Farm system with a private video conference system. We have a functioning database of the Holy Nation. We have a call center that's functioning and operating. We are issuing certain things that I won't even tell people what we're issuing from the Holy Nation, because you've got to be a part of that Holy Nation to know what's being issued. And we've made some mistakes, and we look at things and go, that's really kind of statutory or Babylonian, or that's been tried before through other patriot groups. And it comes back to the biblical understanding of being separate. I mean, if you're not separate, what did you say on a show a long time ago? If you don't separate yourself, I'm pretty sure it was you. If you don't separate yourself and govern according to a biblical pattern, you will fall into the default system, and the only default system is Babylon.
Correct. I got to thinking about it when I was planning what are we going to talk about, because that's always a thing that Randy and I go through. It's it's a lot of times this is in the pre-show that we go, you know what, let's talk about this or let's talk about that.
Yeah, we'll tell them, sometimes you'll text me or email me and say, well, I got this, and what do you think? Or the same thing will happen in reverse.
Yes.
I'll text you or email you and then sometimes we can get together and look at each other for 30 or 40 minutes, go, what are we going to talk about tonight? But right. God always comes through.
He does. And tonight, I got to thinking, it was just about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, in the month of October, after we have established a preamble which defines precept upon precept the things that the holy nation of the ecclesia are going after. About I want to say 14 months ago, that 251 instructional letters went out across the broad United States of America to let this Babylonian system know that we exist, we're here, this is how we're going to operate, and this is how we're separating ourselves. And it was not long after that, just coming into the year 2025, which is what our main subject is tonight. We are going to talk about 2026, but we're going to talk more about 2025. It was just coming into the year 2025 that our call center began to come together for live sessions using the live database.
Right.
And if you don't understand the significance of that just by me saying it, let me help you out just a little bit. In order to have live call center representatives ready to answer a phone call that comes from a phone number that goes directly to that call center, when that phone number is dialed, they get a message that tells them that they've reached the holy nation of the ecclesia and that a representative will be there, as soon as possible. And then somebody answers, one of our now naturalized houses answers the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And they have access to the database in which they are going to provide evidence that the person who is being called upon is either a naturalized house of the ecclesia, and they need to understand, that what they're doing is intermixing with a separated people, or that the person that they have called about is a fraud and is not a member of the holy nation of the ecclesia. That in itself creates a wall between the Babylonian system and the people, the members of the holy nation of the ecclesia. And what a major step right at the beginning of 2025. Even before we had perfected the idea of naturalizing our houses, we were already operating a call center to, in preparation for those naturalized houses.
Correct.
Health is true wealth. If you have it, you experience opportunities for abundance. If you don't, well, you don't. Join us every second Monday at 7 Eastern for a focus group on health through food. Get to know Tim and Naomi Havens as they guide you through excellent and relevant food education. Every second Monday of every month on shopyourfarm.com. Room name Food Health at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Let your food be thy medicine.
Yeah, sometimes we don't even know why we're taking a particular step until later, and then the pieces begin to fit together. And God has a way of preparing us today for what He's going to do tomorrow, because we could not have done it in any other order. That preparation had to be done before we started the naturalization process. Absolutely. But you know what I see happening with all of that, and with the growth we've had, with the learning we've garnered, with the experiences that we've had, with the testimonies that come from different naturalized houses across the country, and as we're visiting with people internationally, more difficult because we don't have experience internationally and know international law, but still we're negotiating and speaking with families. One from Nova Scotia that actually has brought some education to us. But what I see, Rick, happening is going back to the cross. You know, when Christ was sacrificed at Calvary, there was a veil in the temple that kept people away from the Holy of Holies. And the Bible says that veil was torn in two, that curtain was ripped in two. And the meaning behind that the veil was torn in two, we now, each one of us individually, have access to that holy place. As you say, we're each an Ark of the Covenant who are followers of Christ. The Spirit of God dwells in us. Looking at that example, I see that example happening in what we're trying to accomplish through the C2K report, through the biblical study, and through the learning of self-governing. And folks, you're not going to get a whole lot of learning other than the way we're talking on the C2K report is it's happening. We've done this. There's, we're teaching self-governing. Right now is a good time before I finish this thought to throw in, there are free Monday night classes. There are legislative classes. There is a USA meeting every week. There are open council meetings once a month. There are things that are going on all the time. That's where the actual learning takes place. All we're here to do is to introduce you to the idea that you can actually participate within a movement that says, I will have nothing to do with the works of darkness. Rather, I will be a part of exposing them and be separate from the works of darkness and separate from the system. But when I'm talking about the veil in the temple, what we've talked about clearly, I do believe, on the C2K report, is there is a corporate veil that covers at least the United States. And I actually say at least with tongue in cheek, because every government is a corporation. The world is run by corporations. There is a corporate veil that covers everything. And those who come into this holy nation and understand that we are called to be separate, the Bible says it is the will of God that we be separate. We've talked about that here before, back in 2025. Literally read the Bible verse out of Deuteronomy. Those who are separate are doing the will of God. It is the man with understanding who separates himself from the things of the world. We're to be in the world and not of the world. But there's a corporate veil that God, for such a time as this, has determined that He has torn that corporate veil and exposed the systems of this Babylonian corporate system, so that there is now no corporate veil to blind us, to obscure our vision, to to make it so that we cannot see clearly what's going on in the political world around us, and we can move into a relationship with our king and recognize him as king, not just say he's king. We can serve him as king, not just go sit in a pew on Sunday. We can be ambassadors of that king, not just Sunday school attendees. There's a reality, because that corporate veil was torn in two, the same as the veil in the temple was torn in two, and he did it at Calvary. We're just now seeing it, and we can live now that we can see through that veil and it's torn away. We can see into the equity, and that's all I'll say about that. You'll have to figure that out by becoming a part of the Holy Nation. We can now move into living in equity, in service to our King, because the veil is torn.
You said a lot of things. I don't know that I can go back to any specific point that you made and do any better. So I'm going to add to it by continuing the timeline here and talking about the naturalization process that we instituted in the first part of 2025. That basically that basically provides evidence and that there are no undocumented citizens of the Holy Nation of the Ecclesia. All the citizens of the Holy Nation of the Ecclesia, all of the naturalized member houses, are documented. They've gone through a particular ritual of providing 6 common documents. Just happens to be 6. There's actually 5, but there's a 6th one that initiates the whole thing. So they provided those documents, and they've gone through this particular ritual to join our family. So now that they've gone through that and they've become naturalized houses, they have joined our culture. And our culture isn't defined by practicing the scriptures in a particular way. Our culture is defined by the fact that each one of our houses, at the center of it, at the threshold of it, has has Christ Jesus at the center. There are houses in this holy nation that are that practice kind of a Hebrew roots philosophy. There are houses in this holy nation that practice something that you might call a more New Testament variety. There are so many different elements within this holy nation, but at the center of it, it's serve and worship the purpose of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And I think, Randy, that is what, first of all, separates us from any other nation. Not to mention that there are no nations; they're all corporations. But
right.
But that's the first thing that separates us, and more importantly, we separate ourselves because we've been mandated to do so.
Yes, we have. Absolutely. And it's interesting. You're going through this timeline. This was not planned. This was not anything we talked about earlier at all. But I'm liking this. That is some of the forward momentum in 2020 and 2025. And you're right. We have a lot of different ideas within the naturalized houses, but one idea remains the same yesterday, today, and forever. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. His name is Jesus Christ. He is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. If he is not King, if he is not the way, the truth, and the life, and there's no other way to the Father except through him, you just reached a point of difference that we cannot assimilate with you into the holy nation of the ecclesia, because it is at its center, Christ is King. Well said, Rick. Well said. Well, since you're talking about the things that we've moved on, let me tell you something that has happened in the other world in 2025. In 2025, human leaders around the world continued to fail in their capacity to deliver. They are without wisdom still. They are devoid of faithfulness, and they have no discernment. And they continued through that mindset and activity through 2025.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that Babylon has failed, is failing, and will always fail?
Yesterday, today, and forever.
Wow. Wow. That's hey, that is an alert bulletin right there, guys. Breaking news. Babylon has failed again.
Has failed again. Yeah. Your favorite politician has failed in their capacity to deliver.
And you can't make
We
that
talk
up.
about capacities here a lot, right?
We do. We do. We talk about capacities all the time. And all of the plethora of rumors that are out there about what politicians are doing, what they have done, or what's coming, or nothing can stop what's coming. You've heard all these cute little monikers that are out there. You know what? It's true. Nothing can stop what is coming, but it's got nothing to do with that.
But everything's going to be better in like 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks, man. Yeah, give it 2
2
weeks. Give it 2 weeks, and Jasara is going to kick in, and yeah, we've heard it all.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I didn't really mean to be comical, but that literally is a true statement. Every year, at the end of the year, did world leaders continue to fail in their capacity to deliver justice, to deliver wisdom, to deliver righteousness, to deliver, we talked about it a little bit in beforehand about, we were trying to remember, and we didn't look it up because we were on to other things. We didn't look it up. I don't even know which Congress this is, the 131st Congress or whatever it is. I don't know. I pulled that number out of the air. But there's hundreds of sessions of Congress. And each one of those sessions of Congress has been continually building the same prison walls that we now live in. They didn't build it all at once, or we would have revolted. But each one, year after year, year after year, 200 and how many years, we've built something that doesn't even resemble original intent.
It's funny because sometimes we talk about how the evil side mirrors the scriptures.
Right.
Every time we vote for somebody in Babylon, we put a trowel in one hand and we put a sword in the other hand of that person we vote for, to make war against the saints with the sword and to build that everlasting wall around us, right?
Right.
Because, and Randy, that's more true than we even really know, because when we participate in the program to create law, so-called law, that is set upon us, it's like putting another stone on your back. You've seen Pilgrim's Progress before, or have you read Pilgrim's Progress before?
Right.
Christian has a backpack on.
Right.
And every time that Christian does something that is abhorrent to the Lord, there's another rock that gets put in that backpack until that thing gets so heavy that he can no longer carry it. Right?
Right.
That is a perfect picture of what we do every time that we vote another person into Babylon. Welcome to Stone's Throw Acres. If you enjoy nature as God intended it, you'll feel right at home. Here on this ranch, work and play are one and the same. We enjoy working in and with God's nature, not against it. We wouldn't be telling you the truth if we said it was easy, but the fruits of our labor are worth every ounce of effort. We are excited to show you our little ranch. Join us at www.shopyourfarm.com and find the store at Stone's Throw Acres. There, we will supply you with nutrient-dense foods at a fair price. Here at Stone's Throw Acres, our mission is to work with and not against God's nature to restore the soil's health and give life-giving properties. As we achieve this mission, we work towards our vision in providing an opportunity for all people to have nutrient, natural, dense foods at a fair price. Come to Stone's Throw Acres today at shopyourfarm.com.
And it's really hard,
No,
Rick.
it's not.
It's really it's really hard to explain this to people sometimes who love their country, and you and I both love our country. I mean, you've got flags flying behind you. I can see them. We both have family members that are in service to the U.S. military. It's not that at all. It's just coming to an understanding. It's not what you have been taught in the indoctrination centers called public schools. It's not what you've been fed by the media machine to believe. We just need a red wave or a blue wave or this guy or that guy. And it came to me. I had a conversation today with a gentleman. And in that conversation, we're both talking about, who we voted for, what we did, and how active we were. And he was part of the name just escaped. John Burke Society, chapter leader for many years, very involved. You and I were both involved in other patriot movements because we love our country and we love our families, and we want to see biblical law, not this statutory mess we're under. But we both came to the conclusion that not only, like you said, are we arming and giving supply to those who are building a wall around us, but if they are guilty of crimes against humanity, crimes against children, killing, stealing, destroying, lying, all of those things, not to call out any names or pinpoint anything particular, but there are heinous crimes that you can see every single day. Genocides. We did a show with Joe Horn not long ago in regards to trafficking of children. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch that one. Got a great new book out. But if they're guilty of those things, does my vote make me his partner in crime? Because I chose not to be separate and just say, Christ is king. I don't need to worry about this person or that person. It's a difficult, that's a hard thing to converse with people, because people love their country and they feel like I've got to make my voice heard. But I came to the conclusion that I can't, because I do not want to stand before God and this person that did these heinous things, and I helped put him into a position to do those heinous things. Am I complicit? Am I his compadre, his partner in crime at that point? Wow, that makes it difficult for me. And I'm not telling you to vote or not vote. I'm not dunning anybody. I'm just saying, wow, to be separate really is a calling. To be separate is something you will take not with a grain of salt, not something you say just as a point of conversation or a talking point. It is a life decision.
I'd like to put a proper form around the box so that when we look at it, we don't convolute some things. So what I'd like to say is this: when you have a worldview like I do, that every one of us are servants of the King of Kings because he is the king. See, we don't live in a geopolitical world before Christ where you had to do a particular ritual in order to confess that you were part of a particular tribe that was, that was pursuing righteousness. Okay, we now live in a time beyond Christ. Whatever your eschatology happens to be, he's already come. And he's already been proclaimed king over heaven and earth. So that means that every man, woman, and child on this earth has to understand the difference between good service and bad service. So if you look at it that way, when you entrust someone to a particular position within your culture, I don't even want to call it a country because they're really not countries or corporations, but within a particular culture, what you're doing is you're entrusting them to be a good servant, to be a good leader, right?
Right.
So there is a heavy portion of that gets placed on the individual who is in that role.
Right.
It much less than maybe it would have been at one time. So I do think that we need to make that picture very clear. Number one. But Randy, I am a proud American that was born on this soil, and because of that, I call myself an American.
Correct.
And as an American, I have to understand my personal responsibility. And I have to understand that there is something wrong with this system when, for like you were saying, I don't know what Congress this is either. Maybe it's the 132nd. I have no idea. Okay. But whatever Congress it is, the same game has been played over and over and over again. And that game is promise, 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 and then sudden change, right? All of a sudden, those promises don't get fulfilled. Those promises don't get kept. And it's almost as if something happens between the promise and the fulfillment of the promise that that negotiates within the leader's mind and causes that person to change their mind. And we can sit here and theorize what that is all day. I think I have some good ideas. There's certain places that they always seem to visit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we can sit here and theorize about that all day long. But at the end of the day, we each have to take personal responsibility, and we each have to understand what our responsibility is. And here's my particular outlook on my responsibility. How can I vote for a governance that I am not part of? When I was called by the Lord and I was picked up out of the miry mud and I was transformed from the creature that I was to the new creature that I am, I was elected to office in Christ. I am among the elect. That word elect means something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It means that I have been given an office. I am an ambassador. I am a minister of reconciliation in Christ. It was not Babylon that gave me that title. It was Christ who gave me that title. So for me to continue to mix and intermingle the two, as Randy has said 1.5 million times, that iron and clay model is, in my mind, a transgression. It's in my mind a transgression. It would be as if an ambassador of the United States of America de jure decided to go to Cuba in the 60s or in the 50s during the missile crisis, whether you believe there was actually a crisis or not, whatever. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Let's put all the conspiracies aside for a second. Let's imagine there was one. Okay. At the end of the day, if I'm an ambassador of the United States and I go into Cuba to interact with the Cuban government on behalf of the United States, and I decide to take part in their geopolitical associations in Cuba, is that not treason?
Maybe it's treason.
Why would I do that to Christ? That is my position. Everyone has to figure that out for themselves, but that's my position.
And, that's easily understood because you said, there are either faithful or treasonous servants. We're all servants. You're either good or bad, faithful or unfaithful. You talked about personal responsibility, which is self-governing. You cannot self-govern if you don't take personal responsibility. And you're right. Babylon cannot appoint you as an ambassador of Christ. And we are ambassadors of Christ. And the only one who can make that appointment is the king. You can't run for that office. Babylon cannot make that appointment for you. You cannot be nominated. It comes only to those, as you said, you were elected to a position. You were given an appointment as an ambassador of Christ from the King of Kings. Well said, Rick.
And this isn't one of those situations where I have dual citizenship either.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, it is very infamous that most of Congress has dual citizenship in another country. That's super small. Okay.
Right. Super small.
Super small.
Absolutely. You were going down a timeline, so I'll see if I can't.
You're gonna pick up the timeline. Okay.
Kick your brain back into that mode a little bit. Something else that happened in 2025, Rick, and actually in the very state I live in, there was an act passed by this corporation that says once a child reaches the age of 12 years old, the parents, the grandparents, the guardians, the mother, the father, the grandparent cannot have access to any of their medical records without the child's written permission. They cannot consult the child's doctor unless the child is present and says they can. And I'm like, okay, we did a show and talked about it is the goal of the enemy of our souls and has been since the very beginning. In fact, we called it Devil Take the Youngest. Is that another step, not another step towards Devil Take the Youngest? 12 years old, my thought immediately when I saw this act had passed, I thought, okay, the best way to defer that is as soon as the doctor denies you as a parent of your 12-year-old daughter, your 12-year-old son to know any medical history, medical records, treatment being presented to that 12-year-old child, you would just have to say, well, if I have no access to any of this, the child has these privacy rights, probably he'll have to pay the bill for you then. So ask that 12-year-old to write you a check for your services if that's the way you want to play this game. But and I say that because it made me angry. That is ridiculousness at its greatest. So 2025, back to the timeline, we have ridiculousness on display. 12-year-olds are responsible for their own medical condition, and the parents are on the out. Although if they go out there and they at 12 years old and they break the neighbor's window, guess who's liable still? You know.
When the winds of autumn blow and the strong breeze gives way to snow, there's a feeling in our hearts that sings a Christmas song in 4 parts. The tree, the tinsel, and the shining star makes melodies from afar, whisper memories in our ears that brightens eyes and quiets fears. Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. Noel's in choirs fill the air with song. Hope for tomorrow inspires no wrong. Our King is born in Bethlehem. Our King is born in Bethlehem. Christmas is about restoration. Christmas is about salvation. Christmas is about reconciliation. Noel's and choirs fill the air with song. Code for tomorrow inspires no wrong. Our King is born in Bethlehem. 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 Our King is born in Bethlehem.
I got to tell you, Randy, I love it.
You love it.
I'm going to tell you why. It is the chief of all separators. You want to talk about finding out real quick whose side somebody's on? Go to a doctor and have a 12-year-old, okay, sit there and tell a doctor something without his parents, make some kind of an obligation, okay, without his parents, and let's see if the doctor's actually going to agree to what the 12-year-old's got to say. If the
Right.
doctor agrees to what the 12-year-old's got to say, don't go back to that doctor.
Don't go back
Right?
to that doctor.
Okay, look, there is sense and then there is nonsense.
Right.
This is nonsense. There is, okay, first of all, it tells you they're operating outside of the thing that they used to call the Constitution. I don't even
Right.
know if they know that word anymore, the word Constitution, but I could remind them real quick that there is this thing called Constitution. And, you know, when you talk about no law shall be passed by any state, didn't say the federal government, it said any
Right.
state that impairs the obligation of a contract.
Correct.
Do you know that there is a contract of consent until a child reaches the age of accountability? Until the child reaches the age of the majority? There is a contract. It's an invisible contract. It's nobody's ever signed it, but that's a contract. So the idea that a child can make a contract at 12 without his parents, who the reason they're called parents is because that's the parental authority of the contract.
Right.
That's what a parent is a pater. Go look that up in Roman law. Go look up the term pater, which is, by the way, the root word of parent. Okay, so when you go look that up, you're going to find out real quick that it is the overseer of the household. It is the one who makes the decisions of the household. They could put out a son or daughter. They could put out their wife. They can put out. Now, when I mean put out, I mean put out. Led by any means. They could put them out. You remember our parents used to tell us, I brought you into this world and I can take you out.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, well, they actually could. They actually could, because that's what the term patter meant. Okay? So what a stupid, I mean, you want to talk about something that would not hold up in even I mean, you could go to a probate court and they're going to look at that and just laugh. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But, hey, it's the ultimate separator, and good for Missouri to finally put themselves in that position.
Right. Even talking about the pater, even in the lead role, the lead character in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," when a gentleman asked him who he was to the leading female role, his husband and wife, and they're separated, and another gentleman comes in and he asks the lead character in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," who happened to be George Clooney. He says, "Who are you?" And he said his response was, "I'm the pater familias." He even knew what the pater familias was, right? But no, Rick, what I see in this, I see it as laying groundwork for those sick minds who want to have relations with 12-year-olds and younger. They're trying to remove that bar, that taboo. And this is I see it as groundwork for removing that taboo.
Can I tell you a little secret?
Sure.
Just between us. I hope nobody else is listening. Okay. There's already a book that promotes that. That's above statutory law. It's called the Talmud. Go read it.
Oh, right.
You can openly read it. Okay, you can openly read it. If they're below the age of 4 and you have consensual, you know what, with them, or unconsensual, whatever, you know what, with them, it doesn't count because it didn't break anything. Because it reforms. Okay, go read it yourself. I'm telling you, it's out there already. It's already a higher law. Look, let's be completely transparent here. Most of the people who have a role in the baboon Congress that we call, the states or the United States of America, are attorneys. Most of them.
Right.
And attorneys, high number of them are Talmudists.
Really?
So, go look. Most of them carry on a particular type of faith that right now are in the middle of a particular season. Okay? Right now they're in the middle of a particular season. So I'm just telling you that it makes perfect sense that particular sect of people, no pun intended, okay, that particular sect of people would want to promote a law that's been a law in their book for a long, long time.
Which, on the flip side of that, is why we are looking into biblical law, not statutory law.
Right.
We're looking into biblical law, not Talmudic law. We're looking into biblical law, not Noahide law.
Yeah.
Biblical
Sharia
law, not Sharia law.
Yeah.
Biblical law is the only avenue of life.
Yeah, I mean,
that in abundance.
This goes back to the discussion we had about the difference between freedom and liberty.
Yes.
If you're a Talmudist, if you're a Shirite, if you're a Noahide aficionado, if you're any of those things, or if you're an anarchist, okay, or you're just a straight up psycho, okay, if you're any of those things, what excites you about anything but the scripture is that it brings freedom. Freedom to do what thou wilt, without consequence. It's the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
The wild, wild west. In Christ, there are parameters. And that's why it's called liberty. We had this discussion. We did a whole show on give me liberty or give me death. So I think, we can, if people had a keen eyes to see and ears to hear what's actually going on when Babylon tries to impose these kind of things, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear who, what, and why they want that. It's already been a law in their book for a long time. They're just trying to apply it to us. Because believe it or not, most people in this place that we call America, even if it is a corporation, we fear the Lord here. Most people.
Right.
Most people do fear the Lord. So they're trying to impose something that's foreign to us.
Wow. That was enlightening right there. For those who heard what you said and understood where you were going with that without getting kicked off of YouTube and creating a scandal. Absolutely. Well, I just heard the clock dinging in the other room, and I know you wanted to talk about 2026. So I want to give a final statement of my view of 2025, so you can move forward.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
And I wrote this little note down when we were talking in the pre-show, and I said it. And said, "Did you just read that off of something?" And I held up my little note card. So looking back the year that has gone by us. I said the evolution of entrapment has escalated so that now the slave state is fully functioning. That's my assessment of 2025. So I just said that so we can move on, because I know you've got something that you're really wanting to talk about in the year ahead.
Have you ever wished you could get a one-of-a-kind, high-quality knife made by caring hands instead of a mass-produced piece of tin? Robert's love for bladesmithing began at a young age when he met some experienced smiths and was amazed by the ages-old traditions of handcrafting metal and steel into stunning, functional artwork. When he first hit the hot steel with a hammer in 1986, he was forever hooked. Nearly 4 decades later, his passion is still alive and well. Robert's love and appreciation of the marvel of God's awesome creation grows even more every day. For Robert, making useful heirloom tools for others is an honor and a pleasure too. Every one of Robert's knives are one of a kind, handcrafted, one by one. Following long traditions of old school craftsmanship, he uses simple carbon steel for his knife, which epitomize the best quality steel has to offer, including ease of sharpening, keenness of edge, incredible strength, and great edge holding ability. With proper care, your Robert Gardner built knife can be passed down through your house for generations. Remember that iron sharpens iron, and may the double-edged sword, which is the Word of God, make your path plain before you, now and forever. Robert Gardner, Bladesmith, is a mission of Gardner Ministries. Gardner Ministries at yahoo.com. That's Gardner Ministries at yahoo.com. Well, 2025, first of all, just to wrap that up, it was a fantastic year where we moved forward at really a light speed compared to all the other years that we put together. I think we've been functioning as a holy nation of the Ecclesia for about 4 years now in some capacity. 2025 was a breakthrough. It was a big breakthrough. We have a lot of things that we have going on now. Can we perfect it? Can we get better? Yes, of course. That's the goal. The goal is to be a more perfect union. Heard that before somewhere?
Right.
We want to be a more perfect union, so we want to continue to move forward. 2026. 2026. I want to deem it as the year of discovery. It is going to be the year that we discover more direct and succinct paths out of Babylon. It is going to be a year of discovery like no other, because so many of us who are in the holy nation of the Ecclesia and its council are dedicated to finding more succinct roots out of the Babylonian system, more direct roots out of the Babylonian system. Similar to Lot and his family, who was told, get out of here and don't look back. That is pretty direct rule.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty direct. And I believe 2026 is going to be a year of discovery. It's going to be a year of discovering direct roots out of Babylon that remove us from contracts. Not to say that you cannot get yourself back into a contract, because you're always going to have that opportunity. You're always going to have an opportunity to get back in a contract. Lot's wife did. I mean, they were told very specifically, get out, don't look back. When she looked back, she recontracted.
Mm-hmm.
And that recontracting, well, it got real salty.
I think her name was Ashley, wasn't it? No offense to anybody named Ashley.
Yeah. It was just a bad situation. Very salty situation. And, I think cows have been coming along and licking her for, ever since.
Right. Natural salt lick.
But I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to the things that are on the horizon, because you can clearly see that there is momentum going forward. Still there is a mix of cultural mindsets within the holy nation of the Ecclesia that have to be corrected. We have to come into alignment with seeing the world in a particular way. It's the only way we're going to have any peace, internal peace, because those who still see the world in a way, that's taught and respected by the 501c3, is missing out on what's actually happening out there. We are in a really peculiar place, and we are a peculiar people. So this place is made just for us. So
can't agree more. Yeah, I've said that for years. People that have this longing to be somewhere else. I really don't have that, because I believe God created a perfect place for us to dwell. It's so perfect that he's promised that he will come and tabernacle with us. He will come and dwell with man again. It doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that. But in your looking forward into 2026 and seeing progress, seeing more direct routes, more succinct routes, more defined and clear vision of what we're doing, literally takes me back to what I said earlier about this corporate veil being torn for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. It is the corporate veil has been torn. The corporate veil's been exposed. Actually, there's a lot of folks out there, if you take a minute and watch, young people, Rick, young people, and not just from middle class or lower class or upper class or white folks or black folks or Asian folks or Hispanic. They're everyone. I see these young people that have seen the corporate veil torn. They don't have all the answers. They don't have all the inside information, but they say, there's something wrong with this picture. There is something bad wrong with this picture. And they're out there TikToking and Telegramming and doing all those things. And literally, I've seen several young people, and you can tell by looking at them, listening to them, you don't know the direction of the King of Kings exactly, but you know this direction is incorrect. You know this GPS needs to be recalculating for sure. So I'm encouraged watching these young people seeing, and again, it goes back to that corporate veil's been torn, and we're seeing through into the corporate system. And by the same token, then God is showing us, hey, the veil's torn. Here's the way out.
It's a very good point. And I like that analogy, the corporate veil being torn. I'm just going to I'm going to say it in a different way so that the other side of people that can't picture a corporate veil. We've all seen The Wizard of Oz, right? So here's right. So here's what I'll say. Okay, the wizard's butt cheeks are exposed. Okay, that curtain has been opened up, and now you can see his butt cheeks, and you're going, oh, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I've got to get out of here, and that is a perfect reaction because that is exactly what we have to do. Is get out of here.
Can't unsee that, huh?
You can't unsee that. But can't you picture that, though? I mean, because I'm sure you've seen it 100 times. The Wizard of Oz, sitting in that chair.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Pay no attention. And yeah. So I love that, Randy. I think that is a great word picture. The corporate veil is torn, and again, it mirrors the scripture because what was one of the signs at the crucifixion of Christ, right? That
veil was torn in two.
Yes, I mean, it's a perfect scriptural word picture as well, and that was the gateway between an old covenant and a new covenant. And that's amazing.
At that point, Rick, there was now no need for a mediator between us and our Creator, save Jesus the Christ, who made himself that mediator for us. And we have direct access to the throne room of God. Our prayers have direct access. When he taught his disciples to pray, he said, pray in this fashion. He directly addressed God above, the God of creation, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, by saying, our Father who art in heaven. He identified directly by addressing him directly and identified his location. Absolutely. Yeah. It's
I'm going to clean
and that is self-governing at its best. Now take that responsibility and move forward with what you've been taught.
I'm going to clean my ear real quick, and I'm going to have you repeat that one more time because I didn't hear you say that we need a pope between us. Say that
again. Right.
Are you saying we don't need a pope?
We have no need for any mediator between us and our Creator, save Jesus the Christ.
Oh, so
because there is no way to the Father except through him.
What you're saying is there's nothing sicker than a vicar.
Right.
All right. Okay. You heard it here first, folks. The C2K report. We break news all the time. And with
that was a Rick Hidalgo poem for tonight.
Rick Hidalgo poem. Well, it's not the Rick Hidalgo poem they want to hear. it's the Randy Conway poem they want to hear. So I'm going to leave you to it, Randy, and feel free to, give a word if you need to.
Okay, let's see. I've got it pulled up, and I'll just say this is not typical fare that you hear from me, but being we're closing in on the threshold of another year, and we're getting ready to cross that threshold of time. This is a very simple, short poem that I call Time Goes On. And time does go on. Time will someday be expired. And if you've thought about who is this King of Kings, who is Jesus Christ, where do I stand with him? And I've heard you guys talk about self-governing, and maybe I'd like to learn more about self-governing. And you can't actually do it unless you are a peculiar people, a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation. Those are the tools. That is the pattern for self-governance and for being separate from this system and exposing the works of darkness rather than participating in them. And time is short. I often say history is cyclical. Time is linear, and it just doesn't stop. I call this Time Goes On. Leaves fall, the season changes. Fill your faces, time rearranges. Time goes on in steady paces. I've tried to hold it, it only races. Time goes on in steady paces. Crystal snow, the season changes. And gone now, some familiar faces. Flowers bloom, the season changes. There have been born brand new faces. The summer's hot, the season changes. So many things that time erases, and time goes on in steady paces.
Wow, that was so short that I wasn't ready to come back. No, but great, good stuff, man. Appreciate you. What volume was that out of, or do you know?
That is out of Meet Me at the Cross, volume 1 or 2. I forget. I think volume 2.
So you have to get both of them. Okay, we don't know which one it's in, so you have to get both of them. All right. Well, that's great. That was awesome. Appreciate that, Randy. Just want to remind everybody, every single thing that we do here at the C2K Report, and I mean all of it, it's all about the blood. See you next time, and God bless.
It's all about the blood. It's all about the blood. It's all about the blood. See you next time.